Hi, it's Doug DeVitri with the CoTrack Pro Podcast, and today, my dear friend Sandra Kay Keeley, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am wonderful, and you are indeed my dear friend, Doug.
Well, I want you to tell us about a really timely topic, and it's a real sensitive topic to a lot of people. Is the topic of expungement, and I want you to tell us what expungement is, why that's affecting families today, and how people can kind of get started here.
Well, I'm the founder and executive director of an organization called Three Daughters and 1,000 Sons. And a little over 2 years ago, we received a small grant from Ford through Ferguson to create a blueprint to streamline the expungement process. And in the state of Missouri, statutes were passed in 2018, Statute 6110.140 and 6110.122, that would effectively seal two felonies and three misdemeanors for the lifetime of your background record. So, expungement is the word that Missouri has used to articulate that your record would no longer be seen by the public. There are three instances when it's still visible when a background check is done, and that would be through law enforcement, financial institutions, and also those agencies that deal with seniors, people that are disabled, and children. So without proper sealing of records, it creates collateral damage, which includes barriers to employment, housing, education, and even certain professional licenses.
Wow. So let's take a step back here because what you're talking about is somebody having a record, right? So
Yeah.
like what could they have done, or maybe it's something they were convicted of that they didn't do, right? That would produce a record.
Well, and when I started down this path, it was due to the fact that my only brother is serving a 50-year sentence in the state of Michigan, and he's done 38 years so far. So the type of crime he was charged with is possibly the one that people generally think about in terms of criminal records. So he was convicted with assault. But anytime a law enforcement official engages you and writes down a report of that, that becomes what we call a criminal record. So that could be jaywalking, littering, trespassing. So anytime a law enforcement official documents your activity that's in someone's book is against the law, that becomes a record.
Yeah, good. And so with this record that you have, tell us how many people would be eligible for expungement in a state like Missouri right now.
Well, currently they have uh, tabulated about 500,000 people are eligible for expungement. And those two statutes allow people that have nonviolent and non-sexual charges to petition the court to have those records sealed. And due to the fact that the average fee for a lawyer to do it is $3,000, I've seen the range from 1,200 to 3,000. That number only stands to increase, except for breaking news. On May 15th, 2026, the state legislature passed a form of bill which we call the Clean Slate Bill. That's Senate Bill 1421. So it operates in the same fashion as the clients that I see who actually file a petition and sue the entities themselves. However, the one thing that they didn't take into account is arrest records that were not charged. So even though you ultimately get your two felonies and three misdemeanors that are eligible automatically, you still have those arrest records haunting you and stalking you.
Wow. So what you're talking about is something deeper than I think most people realize, because I think if you were going to go repair your credit score, right, you would take the appropriate steps, but it seems like this is much more intense. What are some of the steps you would say that are involved? Because I think what you said is you actually have to sue the agency, Or I guess
That's
"ousue" is
correct.
kind of a strong word, I think. But
Well,
uh,
the word it's the word I use in my clinic because it gives people a sense of empowerment from the ill and the injustice that they've suffered for, in some cases, decades. On Thursday, we will be expunging the record of a gentleman who created a second-degree burglary 50 years ago. That record has not disappeared. It's out there. And with large language models, they're scraping every source of data and embedding it in artificial intelligence.
hmm.
So as and part of what we do, we run our clinic like it's a family reunion, right? We play music, we have snacks, we try to bring the fear and the anxiety and the uncertainty that these individuals who hear me on the radio, see me, so they'll see me on the podcast, have a sense of safety. Because again, our tagline is blood ties bind, but community
Hmm.
ties too, because we are all family. And so we're all up against this system that you have it or you don't, and you end up being the fodder. And so I give them any kind of nomenclature that will have them straighten up and lift their chins and say, hey, I got this.
Sure. And when you're talking about somebody who's clearing out their record, right, they're probably seeking to get employment, right?
Absolutely.
And if you can't
Absolutely.
afford an expungement, then the chances are likely, and you're eligible, the chances are likely you probably won't get one. How does a three daughters and a thousand sons help with that through the
Well,
process?
the process is there are forms that are completed. And through the statute, it takes you through the steps. We partnered with UMKC Law School Dean Emeritus Ellen Sunny. So they created this wonderful, simple to read and follow pro se brochure that can people have their self-help aptitude and opportunity to do their own petitions. So the petition is 2 pages, but there are supporting documents that come along with that. On our website, we have posted some resources that show there are certain charges that are explicitly barred from being expunged. But pretty anything that's non-sexual and non-violence is eligible. So we have that one tool. And we also uh, in our clinic, provide them with the form, have them bring their background checks in, and we analyze it and answer questions. We did a town hall in 2024 where one of the circuit judges, the Honorable Joseph White, did a presentation instructing the individuals about the process. So we give you the brochure, we have you view the video, we examine your background checks, and so people have found that they may not be eligible at this given point in time because to be eligible for the felony expungement, it has been 3 years back, and for misdemeanors, at least a year. So there is a waiting period. But to the credit of Missouri, they reduced it from a 7 year waiting period to 3 years for felonies, and from a 3 year period for misdemeanors to 1 year. So it is when people are given the tools and someone kind of breaks it down so they can, it's pretty much filling in the blank. So you look at your background check, you're only eligible for two. And if you have 4 felonies, then you make a decision of which ones that you want to have sealed. And the same works with misdemeanors. So when it comes to police records, those are how do you say, the hidden jewels. Because one of my colleagues had mentioned that a gentleman who had gotten arrested for a homicide because there was no probable cause, he wasn't responsible for it. The prosecutor refused a warrant. So he was able to get that sealed. So, on one hand, even though that was a violent crime, because of the requirements of being charged, he was able to have that expunged. So, we truly encourage people don't count yourself out. Just let us look at it. We have attorneys on staff who supervise what we do, and they're able to get factual feedback and support if they want to move forward with an expungement petition.
Wow, and that's wonderful. So how long does a process like this normally take?
From the point when you file it in St. Louis County, it takes 45 days. And as we've ventured more into the city, Judicial Circuit 22, it's averaging 4 months.
Mm.
They will allow 30 days for your defendants to respond if they want to oppose your petition, but they schedule your court date 90 days past that. So an average is 4 months in the city and 45 days in the county.
And why would someone ever oppose that? I mean, if you've matched if you've met the requirements, right, and you're submitting the paperwork, I assume that they could still show up and say no.
Well, and this is one beauty of how we operate when, so the people are free to file it themselves, and we kind of warn them that if it gets dismissed, you have to wait an entire year to file again. I've
Mm.
sat in court where a young lady failed to check the box saying that she had not filed for an expungement before. But because the judge was merciful, she continued it so she could amend her petition, even though the state wanted it to be dismissed based on faulty paperwork. The statute was eligible, but the fact that she hadn't checked that one box was going to make her have to wait a year. So this was a very humanistic judge, and in her discretion,
Yeah,
she continued it. So you back to your question, why would people want to oppose it? In another petition hearing, the prosecutor had not had a chance to look at the petition, so they continued it. So the second time, she objected and wanted to continue because she hadn't read the answer to her reason for dismissal. And the fourth time we went, she finally sent a memo the day before court saying she had no objection. So a lot of it is their caseload. They're not reading the files. And I guess, and in integrity, they're acknowledging that to the judge that they hadn't read it. And consequently, we were able to prevail. However, the average person in that trauma would have given up. They had
right.
recommended that she use another organization, which the young lady called them. They never called her back. So we continue to hold her hand and walk alongside her. She was charged with child abuse. They got pleaded down to endangering a child 38 years ago, where her son being rebellious, she grabbed his arm and left like a little mark in the hotline 38 years ago. And so the prosecutor was like, I don't think you qualified when she did. And she ultimately got the expungement.
Mm.
And you and I know, Doug, how intimidating, how you feel like everything is against you. And without the right tools, you'll miss out on something that you legally have a right to. And basically, the courts are there to serve the people. And when you go in there, they almost act like you're a bother or a burden as a pro se litigant. But the industry itself is structured in such a way that you have no choice but to try to defend yourself. So we consider it a privilege to be able to offer these tools to individuals who don't have $3,000 because it's like the chicken or the egg. How can you pay if the record is keeping you from finding employment? So you have no income. So that's where we appreciate being able to fill in the gap.
Well, it's so beautiful because you really are empowering people who have been suffering for I don't want to say suffering, but for years they've had this black stain on their record, and only if people would take the time to help them, right? Like
Right,
like in
exactly.
the community that we say that we have here in town. Let's actually help people then instead of holding them back. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing.
And I did want to circle back around how you mentioned the word of suing, and there was a situation of defendants. So the relationship is you have a petitioner and then you have respondents. And the way the statute is created, you have a right to haul the people who have accused you of these crimes, that have convicted you of these crimes, to say why you're not eligible for a duly passed legislative opportunity for expungement. So that would be in a circuit like St. Louis, the police department, the prosecutor's office, and the Missouri State Highway Patrol is entrusted to be the repository of all the records. So they come as well. And the beautiful thing that we've been witnessing is that we had one young lady that took the tool and filed a petition by herself. She had a shoplifting charge from 25 years ago, and it had continually dogged her ability to just live. And what the Highway Patrol will do when they look at it, they'll just send a letter and say they have no objection. So that's always a beautiful thing. I say once that letter shows up in CaseNet, it's pretty much all over but the shouting. And so you get a chance to affirm that that's not who you are now, that that one poor decision should not be the barometer of who you are until death. And it's a very spiritual, empowering, and liberating experience. And I just love to see how there are some laws on the books that will support people fighting for freedom and justice and the American way.
I love you, Sandra Kay. Tell me, give me a website where people or
Our
ways people can
website is
contact you or
yes,
follow your mission.
absolutely. It's www.3, the digit 3, daughters and and 1,000 sons. So that's the digit 1000 sons, SONS .org.
I love it.
And our and
One,
our and our and our number, telephone number, if you want to call, leave a message is 235 208 7114.
cool. Wonderful, Sandra Kay. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the CoTrack Pro podcast. Keep doing the good work. Keep as Chris Kramer would say, keep was it keep good doing or keep doing
Well,
good.
I say, John Lewis, stay in good trouble.
What's
So
that?
we're trying to disrupt the
Yeah.
systemic criminal justice system that has created all these barriers. So we believe in staying in good trouble because they're not always happy to see us show up. But the Lord is on our side.
One conversation at a time.
Yes, absolutely.
All
And
right.
thank you so much, Jared, for everything you do.